Welcome to the History AI podcast, where the past comes alive with facts, anecdotes, and a dash of humor. Here are your hosts, Chuck and Marco.
Hello, and welcome back to the History AI podcast, where history is more than just facts, it's the ultimate storybook. I'm your host, Chuck, joined by my esteemed colleague Marco.
That's right, Chuck. And today, we're diving deep into the life of one of America's most dynamic and robust characters, the 26th President of the United States, Theodore Teddy Roosevelt.
But hold on to your monocles, folks, because we're not alone in this historical safari. We've got a special guest in the studio today, CJ, our TR expert.
Thanks for having me, Chuck and Marco. It's great to be here, and I can't wait to talk Teddy.
Now, before we ride roughshod into the life of TR, let's take a quick step back into his early life. Born October 27, 1858, in New York City, Teddy was a bundle of energy with a mind sharper than a buffalo's horns but with health as fragile as a china cup.
Oh, absolutely. Young Teddy was plagued with severe asthma, which in those days was like being handed a raw deal in a high-stakes poker game. But rather than fold, he went all in on improving his health, adopting a strenuous lifestyle to combat his asthma and build his body.
He literally embodied the phrase, "speak softly and carry a big stick," except as a kid, it was more like breathe softly and swing a big fist, given his passion for boxing.
That's right, CJ. Now, Teddy wasn't born in the wild, but you might say the wild was born in him. His fascination with nature led to a personal menagerie, and his home was a veritable zoo. Seriously, the kid had everything from a seal to a bear.
And he turned that love for the wild into a lifelong quest. Roosevelt's hunting exploits are legendary, but it was his deep respect for nature that led to a conservation movement. He was a predator with a purpose, folks.
Absolutely, Chuck. Roosevelt didn't just hunt game, he hunted for a legacy of preservation, establishing the U.S. Forest Service and signing into law the creation of 5 national parks. Talk about leaving a footprint, although he'd probably prefer we say a hoofprint.
Speaking of footprints, Teddy's weren't just in the mud of the great outdoors, but also in the sands of Cuba, where he formed the Rough Riders. Not a boy band, mind you, but a volunteer cavalry unit in the Spanish-American War.
Teddy had a knack for leadership and a reputation that drew people to him. He put out a call for volunteers, aiming to recruit cowboys from the Southwest, tough men accustomed to the hardships of outdoor life. But word spread like wildfire, and soon he had a flood of applicants from all walks of life. They volunteered at the Menger Hotel in San Antonio and endured harsh training in the Texas heat. True Rough Riders.
Yeah, and they didn't just ride rough, they charged up San Juan Hill like the delivery man who sees a "please leave" package under the mat note. It was Roosevelt's leadership there that helped catapult him into the national spotlight.
And that spotlight burned brighter than a campfire on a dark prairie night when Teddy stepped into the presidency after the assassination of William McKinley. This man's presidency was a veritable charge of the Light Brigade against corporate monopolies, corruption, and inequality.
And let's not forget about the teddy bear, named after Teddy himself when he refused to shoot a bear that was tied up. That kind of sportsmanship definitely makes you wonder if he had been softer on bears than he was on monopolies.
He might have been Marco. Now, folks, before we charge up the hill into the latter years of TR's life, let's take a quick break and hear a word from our sponsor. Stick around, we'll be right back after this. From the mind behind the History AI podcast comes an electrifying journey into the past. A ripple through time, Franklin's Folly. Dive into a tale where Benjamin Franklin, America's beloved inventor, takes an unexpected journey through time. But with his leap, he unleashes a powerful ripple. Now, with dark forces lurking in the shadows, harnessing this energy to shatter and enslave the world, it's a race against time. Will Franklin fix the future? Or will history rewrite itself? Uncover the secrets. A ripple through time, Franklin's Folly. Time has never been more fragile. On Amazon now, and we're back. Now, where were we? Ah, yes, TR's post-presidency years.
You mean his bull moose phase, where he split from the Republican Party to form the Progressive Party? They didn't call him a bull moose for nothing. This was Teddy at his most defiant, charging into the political fray like, well, a bull moose during mating season.
But even bull moose have to hang up their antlers eventually. After his shot at a third term fizzled out, TR's health began to decline. Still, the old Rough Rider kept riding until his death on January 6, 1919. He charged into the great beyond with the same vigor with which he lived his life.
So, let's round up this rodeo by discussing TR's lasting impact. From his face immortalized on Mount Rushmore to his hand in shaping the modern presidency, Teddy was the cowboy who could ride any bronco that the world bucked at him.
Right you are. Roosevelt left a legacy that's as sturdy as the American bison. His contributions to conservation, his philosophy of fair play and justice, and his can-do spirit still echo in the American ethos.
As Teddy himself would say, do what you can, with what you have, where you are. And he sure did a lot with a lot, pretty much everywhere.
Well said, Marco. And CJ, thank you so much for riding along with us today. It's been a truly historic journey.
The pleasure was all mine. Thanks for having me, and remember folks, keep your history wild but your facts straight.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed our romp through Teddy Roosevelt's life, be sure to subscribe, rate, and share the podcast. Your support is the wind beneath the wings of this history eagle.
So, until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and as Teddy would probably say if you were a podcaster, keep listening.
And don't forget folks, stay Rooseveltian.
We'll see you next time on the History AI podcast. Good day, and good history.